super excited for today's episode of DIY Designs. If you are not familiar with this series, I have made a few other episodes that I could link down below for you. But basically we're going to come up with a bunch of ideas for dream spaces, or we're going to make them come to life in drawing or digital form. So we're just going to sort of put together a design, and as we go through I'm going to talk about some of my favorite elements that I want to include in certain rooms, maybe to give you guys some inspiration, some ideas if you're redecorating a room, building a house. And so far for all the other episodes I've done digital methods of sort of bringing things to life, things like SketchUp. I've used digital mood boards and other apps and things, but today I actually did get some rendering markers for Christmas that I haven't used yet, and I wanted to play around with them and actually show you guys a visual. And I just love sitting down and drawing. It's just like so therapeutic, and it's just something that I don't get to do very often and I really love. So yeah, by the end of this video, make sure you let me know which one you prefer. Do you prefer the actual drawing, or do you like more of a digital version? We are dog sitting, so this is Cooper. Cooper, say hi. Yeah. So you might see him or hear him in this video. But for today's video, we are specifically going to be designing a bedroom space. I'm super excited to be sharing a bunch of inspiration pictures, and I put together a little Pinterest board and everything that I'm going to show you, and we're going to draw it out and bring it to life. And if you're new, make sure that you subscribe down below for new home decor, homemaking, and DIY content every single week on my channel. Give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what are some dream features, some dream aesthetics that you would have in your dream bedroom. So I think that is it. We are going to go ahead and get started. All right, let's talk about some dream features that I personally have for a dream bedroom space. So if you've been around for a while, you probably have a sense of what my style is. I really like neutrals, but I also really like rich colors. I like things to be very cozy and homey. I like a mix of modern and traditional, and I like antiques. I really like a very sort of clean but cozy, inviting, rich space, if that makes sense. So here's the Pinterest board that I actually made for this imaginary dream space. I love lots of neutrals, like I said. I like rich tones. I really love the idea of like board and batten. I love shiplap, specifically like a vertical shiplap. I like warm wood tones. I like lots of textures. I like lots of different antique looking things. I like gallery walls. There's lots of different things that I really like and I want to put into this space. So now that we have a starting point, we kind of know what we are going for the aesthetic wise and everything, we're going to start drawing and putting this together. So hopefully you guys can see my paper pretty well down here. I'm just using some regular old computer paper. I think it's 8.5 by 11. You can obviously use cardstock, anything like that to put your ideas on. So one of the first decisions that I needed to make was what the bed frame was going to look like. Now, like I said, I have a very sort of like vintage but also modern style. I felt like something with a really sort of slick black frame would be really pretty, especially since I would go for something that's white bedding wise. I feel like a black bed frame would really add some nice contrast and just sort of give us a nice neutral base. So I'm not drawing from anything specific or anything like that. I just sort of formulated this in my brain. I'm sure there's something very similar out there, but I'm basically, oh, that is not in the center, but I'm basically just going to put a bed frame in the center of the page. That way we sort of have a starting point, we have a center on a wall, and we can just sort of work from there. So now we have our bed frame sort of drawn out. We have a headboard as well as a footboard. Fun fact, I've actually never had like a footboard before. I do have a headboard at my bedroom at school, but I don't have one here. So it's always just been like a little dream to have like a headboard and a footboard. Just, I don't know, I feel like it looks really classy. I did add in a few linens and things. We'll talk colors and stuff more when I get out the rendering markers and everything, once we have everything drawn out. But this is what we have so far. This frame is going to be black, like I said. We will sort of trace that over, that way it's more pronounced. I also added in some pillows here, and if you didn't notice, I like the sort of chopped pillows. I feel like it looks really classy and high-end looking. We have a really good base here for our bed. The next thing I want to talk about are some side tables. Now, I kind of actually considered doing a sort of asymmetrical look, having a couple different ones sort of mismatched, but we do a little bit of asymmetry later on the walls. I didn't want it to be too mismatched, so I ended up going for something a little bit more modern and obviously match on both sides of our bed. So that's what we're going to start doing. I think I want to do just like a regular old rectangle or square looking end table. And I think I want to do it in a very sort of rich wood tone. I also really like the look of multiple drawers on end tables, so that's also what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to do a couple different shallow drawers, and end tables are so nice for books and things. If you get up in the morning and you have a routine where you have a book or something that you read, maybe like a Bible, a devotional, or if you have glasses or you like to have water near you during the night like I do, having an end table is a must. So I'm just going to draw these out here, and then we'll move on to what we're going to be doing with the wall situation above the bed. So I put our nightstands in and everything. I also added in the wall along with the windows and curtains on both sides. Like I said, we'll talk about color and stuff later. But as you can see, this is very symmetrical so far, except there is one thing, which is this lamp that kind of starts this asymmetry that I want to start. So I'm going to put the inspiration picture right here. I was so inspired by this. I think it was posted by Magnolia on Instagram. It is so pretty, and I feel like gallery walls are so fun. And recently I did a gallery wall that's like really symmetrical and everything. I can have that link down below if you are interested in actually doing that in your own home on a budget. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, something a little bit more eclectic, something a little bit more cozy, kind of a collection of a bunch of different mixed things. So I thought that would be really, really pretty here, especially since I feel like it's very typical to see like a big painting or a couple different paintings above a bed or something like that to frame it out, which there's nothing wrong with. I think that those are beautiful too, but I just wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit more mismatched and fun looking. So what we are going to do is we are going to start to even things out a little bit. So as you can see, I have this lamp right here. You guys know I love my lamps, especially in the bedroom. They're so cozy at night and it's just the best. So we have this right here. I love the very like big look of this. It looks just like very expensive and fills up that space really nicely, but to offset it and have a little bit of light on this side of the bed, I wanted to do a little sconce. So I'll pop up a picture here of what I am drawing, or kind of what I'm going for. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find something that's exactly like this one, but I love the idea of sconces, especially in that sort of like aged brass sort of look. We talked about that in last week's video. If you missed it, I'll also have that linked. But I love an aged sort of brass looking metal, and I feel like it just looks so pretty, and sconces look beautiful in bedrooms. Another thing you could do if you didn't want to do the whole asymmetry thing, you could do a piece of artwork up here, and then you could put two sconces on either side of the bed to work as a sort of lamp, and they're sort of built into the wall. There's also sconces out there that are battery powered, so that way you don't actually need to wire them through the wall. Those are just some things to think about if you actually want to do this. So I'm going to draw out this sconce here, and we're just going to make it look super aged and very antique looking, very warm and inviting. And now that we have our sconce, let's start putting some artwork on the wall to sort of balance everything out a bit. So the first thing I'm going to start with is a pretty big print or frame right on the left side here when you're looking at it, and I want it to be like a big vertical painting. Of course, you can mix shapes up. You can do something sideways and then maybe do something up here. There's so many different ways to do it. That's why I love drawing things out by hand. That way I can easily erase and I can change things as I see fit and as I sort of figure out what I want to do. So I think it'd be fun to have something just very simple on the wall, kind of have like a big sort of mat on the outside here, and then just like some sort of fun print or something, which we can figure out and develop a little bit more later. So we have that so far. Now to this side, I'm going to sort of mirror the image but make it a lot smaller, because we don't want them to be mirror images of each other. We want that very eclectic, lived-in feel. So I'm going to make a very small or a smaller frame over on the right side of the bed right next to the sconce, and then this one will just do like a little picture print inside as well. And of course, I feel like I'd put like actual like pictures of people in these, but for the sake of simplicity and everything, we're just gonna do some rough prints here. So I like how this is looking so far, but I want to add a couple other small elements. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of snug in or fit in this little print above this right end table. I love the way this looks for some reason. I feel like it just looks very personalized when you have little pieces of decor that fit perfectly into little spaces. I think I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller just so it doesn't feel too crowded. And then maybe for this one we'll pretend it's like a cute little landscape or something for now. And before I move on to the other side of the room here to sort of balance it with this one, I'm going to add something on this nightstand just so it kind of feels more balanced, to have something on this end table as well. So I'm just going to do a little plant. Don't know what kind of plant this is or anything, but we're just going to put a little pot here, and then we'll just have some little leaves coming out of it because I also love plants and I feel like they just really liven up the space and again just kind of play off of that asymmetry a little bit more. Okay, so I think this side of the room is good. I actually, really quick, I'm going to shorten this sconce a little bit. I think I went a little too crazy. Now we're going to move over to the left side of the room and we're going to try to balance this out a little bit. So even though this is asymmetrical, what I like to do and what is actually the most pleasing to my eye, and I think to a lot of people's, is having an equal amount of things on each side. So what I mean by that is on this right side you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things. We're not counting the end table, I'm just counting the objects. So we want to have 4 things over on this side, but of course we don't want to mirror this. Speaking of mirror, I think mirrors are really fun in bedrooms. I love like the little tiny vintage mirrors that are gold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer one of these little mirrors over here, sort of behind the lamp a little bit. This isn't necessarily for actual use, like nobody's going to sit down and do their makeup or anything at this mirror because it's kind of in a weird spot, but it's more just like for the aesthetic and adding in a little bit of a different shape. That's another thing. If you really want something to look like very put together, aesthetically pleasing, eclectic sort of looking, you need to sort of mix up your shapes a bit. So this was another element I wanted to add just so everything wasn't too matchy-matchy. That's just personally what I like. And I'm just going to pretend that it's sort of sitting here on a hook, and then I'm going to put a couple lines across it just to let us know that it's a reflective surface. And now we have 3 things here. We need to add one more. In that inspo picture that I showed you guys from Magnolia, I had this fun sort of an outline of someone, but it's like a side profile and it's like a silhouette. So I thought it'd be fun to do that same sort of idea that we did over on this side with the littler frame, but this time we're going to make it vertical and it's going to be that sort of fun silhouette. And there we are. So we have the main part of our drawing done. Now I want to talk about the wall behind the bed. If you would have asked me years ago what I would paint a bedroom or really any room in my house, I probably would have told you white, but I feel like my style has evolved a lot and I don't like everything to be stark white. I definitely love big pops of white. Like I said, we're going to do the bedding in a white color, but I feel like for something especially like a bedroom, white can be very cold and it can be hard to warm that up without over decorating and making it feel cluttered. So first off, I wanted to do shiplap on this wall, so I'm going to draw in some vertical lines, and I'm just going to draw these very lightly, that way they're not too pronounced compared to everything else, because when you paint shiplap it's not as intense, especially if you do it in like a very light color. And I consider doing board and batten for this. I feel like if you had something more simplistic around a bed or anything like that, if you had a couple of paintings or something, I feel like board and batten would work really well and you could sort of position those paintings above that board and batten. But since I went for more of an asymmetrical look, I thought something more simplistic, very muted would work a lot better and just make it not feel too crazy busy when you walk in. And another reason that I'm doing vertical shiplap is I like the idea of drawing your eye up. And like I said, I do like a mix of modern as well as traditional. So I thought that this sort of vertical shiplap would be a little bit more modern to sort of offset all of the other traditional sort of antique vintage touches that we have going on. Alrighty, it looks a little bit busy right now. Bear with me. We're gonna go through and sort of define some lines that we want to be more pronounced, and then I'll leave the wall alone. It'll be a little bit more of a backdrop. And obviously in person, I can pop up a picture of what it would look like. It'd be a lot more subtle. But obviously in drawing, we can't emulate everything. So the next thing, and probably the last thing that I want to do for now, before we start adding some color, is add in an area rug. Personally, I love the feel of carpet in a bedroom. I wouldn't be opposed to doing a full carpeting situation in a bedroom. In an ideal situation, I would love to have hardwoods with a rug underneath the bed. That way when you step out of bed in the morning, you're not stepping onto something cold. And rugs are really easy to spot clean. They're just more practical, and I just love the look and the warmth of hardwoods as well. So I'm going to draw out a rug, and since the rest of the room is pretty busy, we're going to keep the rug pretty simple, I think. So I'm just going to draw this out, and I'll pop up some options for rugs that I would consider. I would like something that has some texture, a little bit of pattern, but it's actually just very muted and just sort of complements the rest of the room and sort of ties everything together. So for now, just for the sake of having a little bit of pattern on here, we're just going to make some light lines and just sort of give it a little bit of texture. And the very last thing that I want to add to the end of the bed is a little bench that sort of goes along it. You can sit on it, you can put your shoes on there. There's lots of different things you can do with it, but I love the look of course, a very sort of aged looking bench. So what I'm gonna do is draw one that's almost the length of the bed, a tiny bit shorter. Gonna clean up our edges here, and there we are. We have a very rough look of the sort of main wall of my dream bedroom drawn out. The next thing we are going to do is add in some color. We are going to bring this design to life. That way you guys can see exactly what it's going to look like. And that's where these rendering markers come in. I mentioned this in a gift guide that I did for Christmas. I actually did end up getting them. So this is what they look like. And this is the brand name or anything if anyone's looking for them. I can also link them down below. They're from Amazon. And there's technically 89 markers in here, and there's so many different colors. I actually did test out all of the colors yesterday, and I put the names of the colors next to them. I feel like this is just so satisfying and fun to do, and it's also a really good idea to sort of get an idea for what all the colors look like. If I'm looking for a specific color, I know exactly what color I'm going to get based on the name and everything. So we are going to add some color to this thing. We're going to define all of the features that we want to be very pronounced, and then I will come back and we will give a sort of full tour of what this looks like. So cue the satisfying coloring montage. Alright, you don't know if you can tell, but I got quite a bit brighter. The sun is peeking through and shining super bright, so hopefully this isn't too bad. But this is where we landed. I will get a couple other detailed shots, that way you can see exactly what it looks like, but it's not perfect. Rendering isn't supposed to be perfect. You're actually just supposed to sort of lightly fill in color. This is what we have going. The color scheme is not finalized. All I know is that I like a lot of natural colors. I like the blues, the greens, I like the sort of warm reds, the sort of rusty reds that are super popular right now. So I really love those. The wood tones are a little bit off. I feel like I could probably find a different match for those. For the wall color, I went for a really slight off-white. It's kind of a warm gray. I actually think the color was actually called cool gray, but it does have a bit of warmth in it, and it's just a little bit of an off-white. The purpose of rendering is to get an idea of what the space is going to look like, not an exact picture of what it's going to look like. So I did that. I tried to mix up what I was doing with these frames and things here. I tried to do different colors like the gold, and I also did some wood. Some of them have black frames. things like that. The rug, I didn't have the perfect color of what I would want to do for it, so I just decided to do sort of like a crosshatch sort of pattern to make it look like it's a woven rug, which is what it is. So gave it a little bit of texture there, left the curtains white just because I thought that'd be very simplistic. And obviously if I was designing the whole entire room, this is an imaginary room, I maybe would have like a chair on either side. It really just depends on like what's on those other two walls, but we did get a rough idea of what it would look like, and I feel like it'd just be such a cozy space. But anyway, thank you for joining me for today's video. Again, let me know in the comments below if you like the drawing portion, if you like more of a rendering style, or if you like more of a digital like SketchUp, doing drawings, making a digital mood board and stuff like that. Let me know which one you prefer. Also, let me know what some of your dream features and color schemes are in your dream bedrooms. I would really love to know and bounce ideas off of each other. Make sure you subscribe down below for new videos every single week on my channel. I make a lot of DIY design, homemaking, and home decor content on my channel, and I have a bunch of other videos that you can check out as well. And like I said, I'll have any videos that I mentioned as well as the rendering markers that I used in the description down below if you want to check it out. But yeah, thank you for spending some time with me over on my channel today, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye!